I like hosting, and I always extend that favor out back to
It's
people.
not. It's not you.
Yeah.
Mom is the one hosting. You're just there to host.
Okay, fine. Why are you talking so much today, Veer?
I have a lot to say.
It
For
feels like
granted.
such a false reality to me what we're presenting, because that's not our lifestyle. We do
Yeah.
not live in a perfect home where everything is clean, and when they enter, it's a perfect home. That's what we're presenting to people, but that's not the actual truth of what it is, and no one
When-
lives like that.
Oh
Very
my
like an hour before the
God.
event.
Oh my God.
It's just, I just think it feels like
I
such
wanna
a. It
go
feels
into
like
that
such
camera
a.
and
We
just
wanna.
grab you out. You're being so
It just
ridiculous
feels-
right now.
it just
You're actually
feels-
being like a man on some.
Hello, namaste, Zarna Garg here. So excited to have you all at the Zarna Garg Family Podcast. All 5 Gargs are in the house and we can't wait to get started. Let me introduce everybody. My youngest, my middle school son, Veer Garg, my middle son, my college freshman, Brij Garg, my daughter, who's a senior in college, Zoya Garg, and my husband of 25 years, Wall Street veteran, Shalab Garg. We are all in the house. And today's topic is a topic that everybody is going to have an opinion about because we all do it. We've all been there. We have portions we hate. We have portions we love. And we're going to get right into big family meals, big family dinners, extended dinner parties. When we host them, when we attend them, what do we like? What do we hate? What is our status on these things? Do we like these things? Do we like these things? In America, we just got done with Thanksgiving, so we just hosted our extended families, our in-laws, our nieces, and people. It was a big dinner, and I want to get into it. Did we enjoy it? Did we enjoy hosting it? Are we better at being guests? What's the status? Does anybody have a hot take?
I think that we did a good job of hosting because we over ordered. I hate when we go somewhere and people under order. We have food to last us to feed a village basically. And we had drinks, we had everything. All the tables were made, all the floors were vacuumed, whatever. She made us do child labor. But I think that some things I don't like when we go to other people's house is when they don't accommodate for picky eaters, because I'm a very picky eater and I hate when they have stuff with like.
Well, Brij, can you elaborate on that? What makes you describe yourself as a picky eater?
Yeah.
I don't eat that many. I like vegetables, but only specific ones, and I hate when vegetables are mixed with regular food. And I don't eat eggs either, which is a very hard accommodation, to be honest. So I hate when people if you put broccoli in you try to incorporate broccoli in a dish. I just don't like that. It's just that type of thing.
Okay. And what do you like? What you just said? What you don't like? What do you eat?
Like just pasta, any meat, like chicken, steak, just any regular bland, not bland, but just regular typical foods.
Do you feel, Veer, do you feel like they have to accommodate you, or do you think you should accommodate what the host preferences are?
No, they should accommodate me.
Well, it's not so clear, because I'll give you an example. There is a story that's doing the rounds on Twitter and Reddit about how there's a group of friends who host Thanksgiving every year. And every year, the person who hosts accommodates their guests, their accommodations, right? Somebody is pescatarian, somebody is vegan, But then when it was the turn of the vegan person to host, she said, I will do vegan Thanksgiving. And everybody got mad at her because they were like, wait, you should be accommodating us if we accommodated you.
Yeah, I agree.
But the vegan person's like, but I have a policy stand on this. I don't believe in meat. I don't believe in dairy. So, it became a hot button issue.
Well, that's a different situation, because it's different if it's because they can't, because of their beliefs, versus just they don't want to. People can easily just order Italian food versus just you can order multiple types of food.
Yeah, by the way, I agree. I think that the days of ordering food entirely from one place are over. I don't think you can just order your starters, your main course, your desserts, your drinks, everything from one restaurant. I think the time is here where, especially in a city like New York, where options are so many, where, for example, yesterday being a good example, how you got upset at me because I ordered South Indian on top of everything else you had ordered from a different place. And turns out that was the most popular thing. Everybody enjoyed the sambar and the rice thing that I ordered. so much more than pretty much everything that you had put together. I almost stole your thunder by a little act of ordering that extra food. And I think that that is sort of now to be expected, where you cannot just order one thing from one place.
This is proof that fake news exists, because literally that is not what happened. I was first of all not mad that you ordered from the South Indian place. I was mad that you didn't tell me about it and we had no plan to include it in the menu. We ended up having food from 5 different places because everybody had a preference, and you just then decided to throw in this idli sambar, which by the way I also loved, which was great. I just would have liked to have been aware of it. And no, it did not steal anybody's thunder. People were just being nice to you because they thought you went out of your way to be thoughtful, and everybody was just, if a guy just does that, he gets all the anyway. I'm glad you ordered the South Indian food. And what was your favorite part, guys? Brij, Zoya, what was your favorite part of hosting, being a host? What do you prefer, being a host or being a guest?
I have one. My favorite part about being a host is that I can make food for myself. And the way I did that for this Thanksgiving was making, out of all the Indian dishes we made, I made one traditional dish, which was mac and cheese. Me and Didi made it. I did most of the work. She was just, like, to be honest, doing whatever. Just providing me with the directions.
Which, by the way, was fantastic. I love that macaroni and cheese.
He liked it. All the cousins liked it. Baya, I ate most of it and most of the leftovers, and he got mad at me because he wanted them. And he hates cheese so much. He hates the smell. He hates everything. And he still loved that mac and cheese. So I think I did a good job.
I also, just to echo Veer, I love experimenting for Thanksgiving. I always tend to make a experimental baked dessert where I try very hard to make every ingredient extremely healthy. So I made a coconut oil blueberry cobbler that had very little sugar in it. And I also made a carrot, banana, ginger, nut, raisin cake. And that's my favorite part of Thanksgiving, is getting to bake for everybody, because otherwise it just doesn't make sense for me to be making these elaborate bakes with nobody to eat them. So I love that about Thanksgiving and big family meals. One thing that I do not like about the big family meals is there's an expectation to give big life updates. You're asked about dating. You're asked about your status in school. You're asked about what you're doing when you graduate. You're asked about your college admissions standing point in your applications. It feels like, because we all haven't seen each other in a while, our relatives, it's right to business right away, and it's very anxiety inducing.
Why is that anxiety inducing? The updates should be all good.
Well, the updates are, I'm single. I don't know what I'm doing after I graduate. I'm taking it day by day. And that's not a very satisfying answer to the practical Indian community.
So maybe your problem is that you are not prepared. The updates are not the problem. The problem is that you don't have a plan. But we will get us there. We will get us there. This is not something to worry about.
Brij, what did you like about it?
I definitely think that, I didn't really host it because I didn't have like anything to do with the planning. I didn't choose the food. I basically I came home from college and I went to the dinner. So I feel like I was more of a guest than a host. But I definitely would rather be a guest at an event like this rather than host it, because I do think it's a lot more work to host an event. If you think about all the food, it's obviously more expensive. Then you have to clean everything afterwards, which is like hundreds of dishes. So I definitely would rather be the guest. But I also do understand that, when it comes to family and friendships, you have to host sometimes. You can't always just be a guest. So I do think it's fair.
But that's an interesting point. Hold on. Go ahead, Veer.
I want to add to what Didi said. She said it's hard because of the updates. I feel like that's more of a you problem, because me and Baya, actually this time he helped carry the conversation, but for younger siblings, I'm sure when I'm older, it's going to be different. You can kind of just disappear off to your room with the food and do whatever you want.
No, you cannot. Who said that? You really cannot do that. We kept dragging you out. That was not okay. But Brij brought up an interesting point. If you are attending people's events all the time, does that mean you should host some events? What is the etiquette in your generation? Shalab, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that it should be a quid pro quo of some kind. And in other words, you cannot just mooch off of other people all the time. And, it's costly, as you know, like all these food ordering. I mean, the desserts, forgetting about the labor, which is also a lot, but it's also costly. So hence, yes, there should be a quid pro quo of some kind, implicit social etiquette. Like I, for one, always host. I like hosting, and I always extend that favor out back to
It's
people.
not. It's not you.
Yeah.
Mom is the one hosting. You're just there to host.
Okay, fine. Why are you talking so much today, Veer?
I have a lot to say.
Like, you have a lot more to say on this podcast than any other podcast.
And I find it interesting because Veer's the first to kind of do the Irish goodbye of popping in and popping out at his own convenience.
What is an Irish goodbye?
Irish goodbye is when you just subtly disappear and you don't say anything to anybody.
Why is it Irish? The Irish people do that?
I don't know.
It's
It's just a saying.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, what is it like when we are guests at people's homes? Can we talk about that? I will tell you that as an Indian person, being a guest in a non-Indian home is very stressful.
Why?
In a non-Indian home?
Yeah, because the non-Indians tend to be very formal. And Indian people, I think ethnic people in general host informally. We don't worry so much about the place and the fork and the knife and which glass to use and all that. Those are not cultural things for ethnic people. But I always get anxious when I'm invited to a non-Indian home because I feel like for sure I'm going to make a mistake just because I don't know what the rules are.
I feel that way too, actually. I feel stressed out when I go to homes that are not Indian homes for events like this, also based on how I dress. I think there's an expectation of looking really put together and, the social etiquette of being able to dine correctly does stress me out. And also, I think the topic conversations tend to be very surface level.
Yeah.
In the sense that
But
Indian families, I'll just finish this one thought.
Yeah.
Indian families will just kind of delve into the thick of things without thinking about them. And I do think there's this kind of back and forth, more surface level nicety way to just ask questions.
I think that in general, Thanksgiving can be stressful because for me, at least, I didn't know how to dress, to be honest, because you were wearing khakis with like a sweater and a collared shirt. Like that's the most formal, casual outfit that you can have. And Didi, she dressed up in some, I don't even remember. It was some like 2-part dress or something.
I looked fabulous. I was wearing tights,
You looked
skirt,
okay.
and a
You
sweater.
looked
She was
okay.
wearing this pink, same pink thing that she's at the podcast. It was really nice.
Yeah.
I liked it.
So, but they were both dressed very formal. So I didn't know what to wear because I don't have formal clothes unless my mom accommodates them for me, to be honest, because I just don't dress that way. So it was that was the most stressful part for me, to be honest.
What? We were at home in the living room. That was stressful for you? What to wear?
One thing I thoroughly enjoy is the family dynamics of a big family dinner. You kind of get to see who's gravitating toward who, what's the drama. I love family drama. I live for family drama. I like to analyze the social circumstances after the dinner. It's like a post-dinner, like who said what, what's happening with who, why is this person obsessed with this new thing? I think it's fun.
Do you guys prefer having a family dinner at home or in a restaurant?
At home.
Yeah? At home?
At home.
Shalab?
I prefer it at home as well.
At home, you can control what happens.
At
Yeah.
home. Yeah, also you can mix
I have to
around
say
a little
that
bit.
it would be nice if there was a agreed upon time limit that, we will do this
I agree.
meal
I agree.
or this, it was like a
Yeah,
movie.
Me
A
too.
movie starts and then it finishes. So you start at 3 p.m., but at 6 p.m., everybody has to leave. Because people just
I agree.
sometimes
That's
don't
insane.
leave. It just goes on and on and on. So it would be nice if there was an agreed upon time limit to a meal that, at this point, it'll be just acceptable for everyone to
But
just...
I think the fact that they overstay at our house is a sign that we're good hosts. Because people aren't going to want to stay for so long if we're being bad hosts.
But I do agree with Dad that it will just go on forever. And then you're making conversation about things that you don't even want to talk about.
Like in a
I agree.
restaurant, that's the advantage, right? Ultimately, the meal ends and people can leave. At home, that sort of, sometimes it can be a never-ending meal.
That's a good point.
So...
But at a restaurant, you also split the costs often. So it's like it feels less personal. I think it feels less personal. It feels more like a commercial transaction.
Mm.
What do you guys think? When you go to somebody's house for a meal, do you take a gift? Do you take a homemade thing? What is something that you think is appropriate?
I always take a homemade baked good is my go-to because it's something that is obviously an extension of who I am. And I think shows that I put a lot of thought and care and is also fun for me to curate.
Okay.
I just
Wait,
mooch
you-
off of whatever you bring.
Okay.
Wait, I'm confused. I'm confused. What do you mean?
If you're invited to a meal with somebody
Okay.
that somebody is hosting, they're paying for
Okay.
it. Do you contribute anything? Do you bring something? Do you offer
Oh.
something?
I mean, yeah, so far, no. I haven't brought anything to
I
anyone's
do think the
meals.
gifts yesterday were fantastic. The exchange
Yeah.
of gifts amongst that was the
No, not the exchange of gifts. I'm saying a gift for the host.
Oh.
That somebody who's taking the trouble to host you. For example, Brij, you recently went for a dinner with your friends. One of your friends hosted
Yeah.
a dinner, right?
Yeah.
And did you give him something?
No.
No? Do you think maybe you should?
Uh,
Is it a guy thing? Is it a girl thing? I
Yeah,
feel like
I think it is a guy
girls are
thing.
I
always
think
the-
I personally think that like the way that our family does it and a lot of families do it is they over dramatize these events so much. It's not that serious. Like we had a Thanksgiving meal, which was amazing, and we came together as a family, which is cool. But it's not the way it happens, where it's like, oh, the whole day is spent organizing it, making sure everything is clean. I had to clean my room; the rooms are clean. And I know you guys are nodding your head, but I just truly believe that you guys are taking it way too
That-
seriously, and it's not that
That
deep.
is such a masculine perspective to have because when you think
No, I
about
agree
it,
with them.
when you think about it, this Thanksgiving meal is one or two or three maybe max opportunities that our family gets to hang out all together in a year. You get maybe a couple a year. And so if you don't take it seriously and you don't make it a proper event and you don't show your gratitude in those subtle and, unspoken ways, it's just a missed opportunity for families to actually come together. So I completely disagree with that. And that is one frustration.
I
Nothing
think
would have
there can be-
changed. Nothing would have
Thanksgiving.
changed. Nothing would
There
have
can
changed.
be more fun if you
we
don't
had-
take it so
we had-
seriously.
If we had done the same ordered food, you guys, even if they were coming or not, you guys wanted to make mac and cheese. That's something that you guys wanted to do. It's not like they were coming, so you decided to make mac and cheese. So
not
let's say
true.
the food.
No,
yes, it
that
is.
is true.
That is
that is true.
100% true.
We
But-
That
made
is true.
But it
Hold on,
became
and we
more
ordered
fun.
food. Hold on, and we ordered food. Whatever. We did not have to spend every single second cleaning my room that they didn't even enter, Vera's room that they didn't even enter. Then we had to go and make sure the table was the most perfect table ever. It was like all those things could have been done while the food was there or while they were here. There was no reason to
You
make it
take
seem.
all of this
It feels
so for
it feels like
granted.
such a false reality to me what we're presenting, because that's not our lifestyle. We do
Yeah.
not live in a perfect home where everything is clean, and when they enter, it's a perfect home. That's what we're presenting to people, but that's not the actual truth of what it is, and no one
When-
lives like that.
When
And
you
it's
are
so-
a host, a host, it is your responsibility to create the space that people want to walk into. No host is interested in making a space that is a disaster, that is all untidy. That is so disrespectful to your guests who are taking out time in their holiday to come and show face. I disagree with you completely.
It's
and
not untidy. I agree with Meekin completely. It's not untidy. There's a difference between a mess and just
Brij,
like
yeah, I agree with you, but Brij, I think you are underestimating how much goes into making the evening fun. To say what you're suggesting, actually, your dad and I have been fighting about for 25 years. He will say that too. Just order at last minute. No, so many mistakes. When we just try to order a meal just for the 2 or 3 of us, we order a pizza. Last minute, it takes us an hour. You want this shopping. You don't want this shopping. You want this. When is it going to show up? There are so many logistics that need to
you know
be
what?
in place.
I have to agree with you. Like Zarna, your mother is right. Like
The
I have.
plates, the four. You guys sit down at the last minute and you're like, things just start appearing. But those things have been planned all day.
no,
He's
but
trying
I
to collect
understand.
points.
There's no way in my head it takes an entire day to figure out how to order food. When we already knew we were ordering Indian, all we had to do was put the food together and order it. Once you ordered it, we could have ordered it in the morning and just forgot about it until like an hour before the event.
Oh my god!
It's just, I just think it feels like we want to.
grab you out. You're being so
It just
ridiculous
feels-
right now.
it just
You're actually
feels-
being like a man on some. I literally want to take you and just rip you out of the
It
camera.
feels so fake.
Martha
it's unreal.
Stewart
It feels
built
so
her
fake.
entire empire.
Fake.
Martha Stewart built her entire empire on this exact pain point of women who have to make the home an inviting,
No.
curated space. Yes, she did, Brij. Yes, she did. She
I'm
made
not
it.
saying she didn't. I'm just saying why. I've been asking this for so many podcast episodes. Why,
Because
mom?
when you
Mom,
wake up
why do you
and-
hold on, wait, mom? Why do you feel that if you are not the, why do you need to be the one who's doing all this work and has to be the one to curate every single event, order every single item of food, set up the table, do every single thing? Why
Who
do you
else is
feel
gonna do
that?
it? Are you gonna
Brij,
do it? Or is
Brij.
Dad gonna do it?
I
And you're
just
gonna do
don't.
it?
I just don't understand why. I just don't understand. You know, I agree. Women definitely. There's no doubt that women have been put in this position and where they're more the household person and whatever. But at some point, if they just agree to that and you just agree, oh, I'm just supposed to be the household person. I don't do it. No one else will do it. I'll just do it every single time for the next 100 years. Guess what? Nothing's gonna change. It's gonna be the exact same thing now. It will be the exact same thing in 100 years, which was the exact same thing it was 100 years ago. At some point, mom or other women who are moms have to understand that the more you just agree that no one else will do it, is the more that this is never gonna be stopped, and the more you're feeding into it.
Brij, I understand one thing. There may be room for some men or you or somebody to say, do you have to go that far? Right? So the alternative is your dad and I disagree for so many years. The alternative is one, we stop hosting and hope that somebody else hosts, which is the reality now. Most women are like, you know what, let's just go to a restaurant and split it. It's not as special of an experience. When I asked the same question 5 minutes ago, everybody agreed that the home was a better place to do it. But if you do it at home, somebody has to do the work. Now, the question is, do you have to go that far that every room has to be cleaned, every bathroom has to be cleaned? Yes. Every host has something that they are proud of. We are house proud. We are proud of the way we do certain things. Do you one day when you have your own home, you're going to have your own metrics of how you want to do it? Absolutely, you should. Maybe you
You know
will
what,
do
Zarna,
nothing.
can I add something to it?
Yeah.
So for 25 years, Brij, this discussion that you had with your sister, your mother and I have had, okay? And your mother always used to say to me that it's easy for you to enjoy the fruits of her labor and then claim that the labor didn't have to be put in. And I would fight back and say, well, don't put in the labor. But it doesn't work that way, Beta. She's right.
But
Like,
I don't think that's
That's
what he's
not
saying.
what I'm
I
saying.
think
That's
he's
not
saying
my
that there's
point.
supposed to be a line between where it needs to be perfect, and where it needs to be chill free. I think there's a certain line that shouldn't be crossed.
I
What do you
am
mean by
saying,
that? What line
I
is
am
that?
the point that I have now arisen and gone to myself is that, and this is an important point because all these family holidays, I would say most of them, I'm guessing, are made by women, or most of the events are planned by women. Even if it's at a restaurant, most of the time it's a woman who chose the restaurant. Is at least in our community and the people I know, it's always the moms that are taking on this responsibility. The point that I'm trying to make, and that I've asked for multiple podcast episodes, is why is it always a woman? And I understand all the reasoning. I get all the reasoning. We've talked about it many times. Everyone who's watching should go watch our old podcast episodes if they want to see those conversations. They're in a lot of episodes. But I'm just saying, at what point do women or moms, or I guess just moms, make a stance and just say, Dad, you have to do some work. You are going to do this. It's not fair that I do this every time. Please just go do it. Or just say, I will not do it. Or just come together, maybe build a community and like tell their husbands at the same, at what point? Because I understand, I get it, but it's just, if you don't do it ever, it will never stop happening. Men are going to
But it is
continue to
true.
just take advantage
Brij,
of the hospitality.
But Brij, we did have, like I told you guys, go in and clean your rooms. I'm coming to check, right? That was a responsibility you two had for your room. Dad did have responsibilities, but I will tell you the reality of what you're saying. To say to somebody, you will do this, you will do that, it's literally like babysitting the babysitter. You like, then you're coaxing the amount of work and did you get it? No, you didn't get it. No, you got it right. Your dad, if he goes to get something, oh, from the grocery store, what did you say again? What was the
I
list
mean,
again?
that's not
I didn't
true.
write it down.
That feels unfair.
No, shut up. But I'm not saying you in particular because you now have become good at this. But
Oh, did you guys notice that? Did
That
you
was
guys
a
notice
win.
that?
That was
no,
a win.
that was
That was a
after
win.
20 years
I didn't think she'd
of
ever say that.
fighting about this. But it's like it's easier for us to do it. That's why the women give up. And now I'm hearing what you're saying. Maybe you don't have to go to that extreme. But to say just don't do it is not the answer. then nobody will do anything. Then
But that's not what he's
everybody
saying.
just go to
But
McDonald's.
that's not what
I
I'm
do with
saying.
okay, Brij,
I'm
do I
saying there
understand
needs
you?
to be some compromise. There needs to be some level. I am saying a little bit what you're saying. It's do you have to go to that extreme? But I'm not also saying that you don't have to go to that extreme. I'm just saying, why is it that you alone, by your lonesome, have to pull the whole family to that extreme when you can try and split responsibility? Like the same way you did, where you said, Brij and Veer, clean your room. They need to go do this.
But
But
I'm
never,
countering
the last 25 years, that didn't happen. You never said
But-
to us the last 25 years, Brij and Veer, go clean your room.
because
This was
it's harder for me to convince you guys to clean your room, then to go and check, then make sure that inevitably the room is not clean, then to fight on a day when I have 50 other things I'm doing. And I'm countering you right now. I note your point and I counter with this. Why can't you just step in and say, Mom, these two things I will do?
Because it's not
Why
a
do you have to wait?
priority.
No,
because
why do you have to wait for an invitation? Why do the men always act like they have to be invited to their own homes? Just step up, get up in the morning and cut the vegetables for the salad before everybody else
Well,
does.
I keep my room clean. You don't even need to ask me to do that. It's just Baya, to be honest.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
not
You just
fighting the
ruined my
point.
train of
I'm
thought.
just saying
It's
that
not just about cleaning your own room. Veer, why can't you? You want to make mac and cheese. Why can't you get up before everybody else and make mac and cheese for
'Cause I
everybody?
don't know how to make mac and cheese, and I'm gonna hurt myself trying to make it.
Okay, so there you have it. Now you see all the practical problems between why one person can't just say, go do it. There are 50 other considerations, but really the men waiting to be invited. Like, listen, you want to do it? Your dad likes to go buy flowers. Why don't you set up the flower arrangements? Get up at 6 a.m. and set up the room beautifully the way that you are expecting guests. Why do you wait for us to say, please come and do this?
I'm not saying you need to tell somebody to say, oh, you need to go do this. I'm not saying invite the husband or invite the dad or invite the sons or whatever, the daughters or whatever. I'm saying that there needs to be some open communication about the fact that some people are, maybe you have a conversation with dad. And this, I'm not talking about you and dad specifically. I'm talking about moms and dads in general. Maybe the wife has a conversation with the husband saying that, oh, I think that you need to step it up when it comes to this, right? I honestly, within our specific family, I very rarely see productive conversations between you and dad. Maybe you do on your walks, where you guys have an honest conversation about what you guys are doing that's not fair to the other person, or what you're doing that is
I actually
you're
agree with
overreaching or
this.
underreaching. And
I
if
agree.
you do have a conversation that does that, it might encourage a change in behavior. You can't expect a change in behavior if there hasn't been, if you built a house from start, right? If every day you are in charge of making sure the chimney works, every day the dad is never going to check the chimney because he's going to assume you did it. So it'll take a conversation of you saying, Dad, can you please check the chimney? I don't think you're checking it enough, and I don't want to do it every time, for him to make that behavioral change of checking the chimney.
You know
Right?
what? I
That's
actually
just-
agree with Brij. I think one thing as kids that I do agree with him in that we just implicitly have accepted the dynamics that have been set before us. And I agree with him that, there hasn't been any change also because we don't see that productive conversation. One thing I will say that I think Mom brought up this point earlier is why don't men just know in their head to step up and to do something, right, for this event? And I think it's a symptom of the larger problem that men are lonelier and have less friendships that are healthy friendships as they age. There's so much research now that men are lonelier than ever. And I think it's because if you guys were just left in the wild to do what you were doing, it would just be the football game is on the TV, 2 burgers were ordered, and there's a bunch of beers. That's not community. That is not conducive to healthy conversations and friendship.
Why not?
Because there
I
is
mean,
nothing.
again, Zoya, then you're just saying that the traditional gender roles make sense.
I'm just saying, forget gender roles for a second. I am saying that women understand the power of setting the table and what the result of that is, which is real conversation, real friendship, real relationships. Men do not understand that, and that is why they're so lonely.
And I want to say one more thing, because we did bring up the generational point this episode earlier, is your generation, when it comes to communicating with each other and solving problems together as a couple and as a marriage, is so much worse than our generation when it comes to communicating each other, especially what I see with my friends and the people around me. And I understand a lot of times it gets taken over the top where they'll just break up with someone if it's not perfect. But I also do think that we are better at talking about responsibilities and making sure that everyone holds
give
their
a
part.
more specific example, Brij.
For example, in all the relationships I've been in, when I have been either in a position where I haven't been giving enough or the girl hasn't been giving enough, we've talked about it and we've gone through it, and then we came to a conclusion, right? that is a very powerful tool, and that should be part of every relationship. But it's
Brij,
not. It's
You
not
think
in your,
this is-
in your
you
You're
think
relationship.
talking
this is
to a couple that is going to be celebrating 26 years together next month.
And you're still
26 years. You literally, the whole secret to our marriage is that we don't communicate. Your generation is about to have their ass handed to them, and you're gonna find out. All this over communicating, you disappointed me and I disappointed you, is gonna come back to haunt you in a way that you're gonna come back in 10 years on this very podcast and say, you know what, everybody just shut the up. Actually, remove the word shut the up and just tell each other.
That's 3 times.
What?
I cannot believe you're telling us we don't know how to communicate when literally your dad and I have outlasted every other marriage that we know. All our other friends who like to communicate now, they all have hotlines to divorce lawyers.
I don't even know.
I
Hotline.
just
And meanwhile, in your own relationships that you were describing, I
Which
noticed.
barely, by the way, is one. It's
Yeah,
not like
but I noticed, Shalab, I don't know if you noticed, I noticed that he used the past tense in all the relationships I have had.
That's just
we're
grammatically
just
how you say
mixing
it.
words. We're just mixing words.
I don't even know what's going on.
Guys,
I mean, we were discussing meals, and it's become about communication in relationships.
but that's what a family
But that's what the
meal
whole family meal is that it's
The-
communication.
It's communication.
That is the whole
No,
point. And speaking of
personally-
communication, Dad, you are on the wrong side of communication when it comes to family meals. I think you
Yes.
apply pressure to a lot in a
Yeah, no,
ways
no.
that are
I agree.
extremely
Wait.
destructive.
What do you mean,
you
Brij? Explain
you
that
like
as well.
always
Okay,
comment on
again.
people's appearances. Like that is just not okay.
You-
And the way you do
comment
it,
on
like
a lot of things that are very taboo.
Like what?
Look, for example, okay, we have family relatives and people that we know that are going through the college process, and Dad will constantly say, "Oh, our family genetics, we get into every good college," and they're in the college process. They don't want to hear about college, and if they don't get
Brij,
into the right
there
college,
are
they get
5
upset.
kids in the family, and of the 5 kids,
what?
3 are
Oh.
already in major Ivy League colleges.
But
What am I saying?
you
So-
understand how that makes the 4th kid feel so
There's
so under
no-
pressure.
Dad,
and
with
left
you,
out.
sometimes with you don't seem to consider that there are some things we're not supposed to say because
Yeah.
there are pressure points, right? So if you say them, the person who is experiencing that pressure point is just gonna feel like explosive inside because you just go for it, right? Like usually you kind of like skate around the topic, like you're not supposed to talk about certain things. And you'll just be like, so how do you feel about your college application? And it's like a bomb has just been dropped.
By the way, just not to be nitpicky or anything, but Stanford's not Ivy League.
But
That's true.
Why are
it's
you?
so unnecessary?
No, I mean, he said 3 out of 5 are in major Ivy League. I was just correcting for
Oh, well,
because
thanks,
my
Mom.
audience likes to fact check.
2.5
Okay.
out
Let
of
me
5.
let me save them the hassle. Do you know
God
what I mean?
forbid
God, Zoya,
Stanford is
thank-
like one of the
thank
best
God.
schools in the world and isn't Ivy League.
Oh, okay, big guns. I know Stanford Y Combinator trash.
Why do you associate Stanford with Y Combinator? Stanford is its own entity that has created many, many amazing, successful people.
Okay, we're not gonna go down this road, but we all know it's controversial.
There's nothing controversial about it. It's number one in the eyes of many, many ranking systems.
Everything
the
is
way,
number one in the eyes
we're-
of many ranking system. I'm number one in many people's eyes.
In whose definitions? You create the definition and then you assign yourself number one.
Exactly. I learned that from Stanford. Ha!
Guys, I'm so tired of this. Even this family dinner conversation is giving me. This is at this point, you know what happens? Is Dad, if he gets exhausted, he'll just on his phone.
And Dad falls asleep. He just fell asleep one time.
When did I fall asleep?
He didn't. Well,
At somebody's house, he was just at one of our relatives' house. I remember you were telling me the story, and he just fell asleep.
Listen, I think
anyway,
whatever.
well, he does get on. Which is let's have one final discussion. To have your phone, do you check your phone or not in and around the table
It is
with the
not
family dinner?
cool to be on your phone at
Yeah.
all during a family dinner. You're supposed to put the phone
But we
away.
have the phone. We're taking photos. We're posting on social media. The phone is everywhere.
Also, when you work and you have a lot of I don't know how you can go. I don't know. I just feel like every couple of hours or something, I need to check to see if I have any emails or any. I don't know. Especially since I just started LinkedIn, I've already started getting LinkedIn messages. You know, you have to be kind of on. When you're working, it's hard to not to be away from your phone for too long or away from your computer for too long. I find that my computer is the most important thing to me in my life.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
I need it for everything. So I don't know.
I agree.
I think phone has become a little different over the years. But,
Shalab, do you feel like you're on the phone too much sometimes?
I mean, like, yes, I do.
That's such a
I feel
funny
like
question.
I feel like it's a.
Okay.
Now, I will say that I am in a kind of a job where I can do a lot of my work, which is for you as well, Zarna, right? A lot of your work is on the phone.
That's
I
true.
know, but it never ends, Shalab. That's the problem. Like, we are both building our own things. At some point, you have to put the phone away. Otherwise, what are we doing?
Like
Hosting
on the
and being
weekend, I
guests.
don't need to be on the phone. So if on the
But you're
weekend or
still
a
on
holiday,
the phone all the time.
yes. So hence I accept what you say, that on the weekend or on holidays, markets are closed. I don't need to be on the phone. Yet I find myself to be on the phone often, and that is.
You can't say you find yourself as if you're a victim of the phone.
I am a victim of the phone. I mean, it is a disease, right? Like I'm not the only one who feels that way. They've
I
like
am a victim of the
I am a victim of the phone. I wish there was a way that the phone was not around and could be shut off.
You can put it away. Like, I don't understand what's happening.
Okay.
The phone
Do you
controls
see
us.
why we should not communicate?
actually crying. You're acting like the phone is some gladiator that's held a gun to your head.
Do you not feel that way though? That the phone
No,
is like a gladiator?
the phone is. I can shut the phone all the way off and do
Can
some
you let
yoga.
Vaya ask his question
Yeah, Veer, what do you think?
about?
The phone on the dinner table.
I agree. I think that the phone should not be used. I've actually we've implemented this because all my friends agree with me. Like we made a rule. Like for example, at a birthday party, I'm not even trying to hate on one of my friends, but he just was not involved at all. And he was on his phone scrolling TikTok. He had a whole escape room and a dinner. It was such a nice thing to do for his birthday, one of my friend's birthday. And one of the people that were there that are in my friend group, invited though, he was just on his phone the whole time, and I thought that was really disrespectful. And at the phone, we were all saying get off your phone because we were trying to have an actual conversation. So I think that phones at the dinner table are not okay. That they should not be involved.
So apparently, our producer is sending a note saying that a phone addiction is obsessive use of a smartphone. It's a behavioral addiction often dubbed nomophobia, the fear of being without a mobile device. Who all has nomophobia in this room?
Depends
Who
on
is
how.
afraid of being without a mobile device?
I would feel like this is unhealthy.
And the producer is raising his hand too. Okay, great. It's over for us. Nothing's going to happen. The robots are not going to take over. They have already taken over in the disguise of
But
our phones.
I really hate the fact that these companies are tracking everything we say. I'm going to see a random word that has never been used in the Garg household ever before. Levi Strauss jeans. And I promise you that by the time we are done with this, in the next hour, there's going to be all kinds of advertisements of jeans, of Levi Strauss, of all kinds of things. They're watching us all the time. And yet
Okay, can we just get into good grades?
Okay, hold on. But just one thing. I want to round up this.
Okay, this is also something that is new in our family. What? There's just no sense of anything in this family anymore. The other night, Brij just said, I'm done with this conversation, essentially. And the other night, I was having a very interesting conversation with Mom and Veer, and I had so many interesting points to say. And all of a sudden...
What was the conversation? I forgot, sorry.
You were falling asleep. We were talking about some interesting thing. And because everything I say is interesting. And Mom, I was saying my whole perspective. I was so excited to hear Mom's reaction. And then all of a sudden, Mom goes, I'm done with this conversation. Goodbye. And she was just sitting next to me. It wasn't like she texted me goodbye or I can't do this right now. She was sitting in the bed next to me and she just said goodbye and flopped over to her other side. And then that was it.
Yeah, because sometimes, the lines have been blurred. The lines have been
There is literally no
blurring.
social etiquette in our culture anymore.
Okay, I'm going to ask you guys a question. Do you guys get offended when you're at a dinner table and other people are on their phones? Because we all raise our hands about the phone addiction. Do you get offended when...
I don't get offended.
I think it's different for adults because you guys can't just be upfront. If I'm with my friends, I'm going to be put that phone down right now. Like I'll
You
take the
just
phone
say
out of
that?
their hands and I'll put it on the table. Like if they're
But
being
I'll
owned.
tell you one thing that I do with my work friends, like other moms, entrepreneurs that I hang out with all the time. We now have conscious phone breaks. So if we're meeting for a meal, after every 15 minutes, we do a 2-minute phone break
That is
because we
insane.
all have,
That is
but
just
we
so
do.
degenerate.
That's so
That's
unhealthy.
insane.
What?
Guys,
I think it's
Serious.
brilliant.
Bro, phone break is insane.
you
Because
sound
we
like
all-
a kindergarten
That's
who
like
needs a
attention
nap.
span cooking 101.
Because
Like
we
you're just trying
all
to destroy.
schedule our
If
If
time.
I go out with a couple of
That's like
guys,
a
I mean, I don't
dopamine break.
often go out with guys, but let's say tomorrow I have a plan to go out with a few guys. And those guys can all be on the phone at the same time and we can continue talking while on
That's
the phone.
what I've been saying.
That's insane.
You're literally proving my point. This is why. If you Google the most lonely demographic of people, it is your age men. Because sitting next to a person on a football couch and just watching some screen, even if you're watching it together, is not
But I
relationship
don't feel
building.
lonely. Like I feel like the four of you are more than enough company I need most of the time.
Oh my God.
Okay, now you're just glazing
Well,
my
some people-
says.
Like when, for example, most
some
of the
people
time,
don't
Zoya,
also-
you are in the California and Brij is in Ithaca, and it's just me and mom is working most, and I'm just with Veer. Even then, we don't. Do you feel lonely? I don't feel
Friendship
lonely.
is built off of being present, understanding the needs and wants of the other person next to
Oh
you, and
my
enjoying
God.
a conversation.
This is such
Shut
like
up.
a woke conversation.
I think I know. I think I'm done with this conversation because
Yeah.
we are gonna go
I'm
down.
done with this. Goodbye.
Friendship, literally.
This is not acceptable.
Oh my God, we cannot, guys. This conversation is gonna go on and on. We're so excited to get this topic out in the open. Dinner table, dinner meals with families, extended families. How do you like them? We hope we gave you something fun to dive into with your own families. And now, as we end all episodes with good grades with Gargs, where we go around and each Garg assigns another Garg an A grade, we are so going to end this episode with the same kind of round. And then we want to hear from you, our viewers and listeners, who deserves A grade.
I'm going to give my A grade for a change today to your mother and my wife, Zarna Garg, for having arranged these amazing meals for 25 years, year after year, as many times as she has. I have been a beneficiary of them, and I'm happy to accept that as much as I opposed, like Brij did today, about not doing this and not doing that, at the end of them, I'm the one that really enjoyed them, had those amazing conversations, enjoyed the drinks and the food and the dessert that she arranged.
I'm gonna give my A grade to Veer. I'm gonna give my A grade to Veer because I think that he took a very commanding start to this episode and very participated and carried the conversation a little bit. And I think that a lot of people in our comments have been begging us to let Veer talk more and to encourage Veer to talk more. So I'm happy that he reflects the wants of the people.
It's not because Veer doesn't have things to say. He's just he just only says words when he feels like what he's saying is valuable because every word is gold.
Okay.
I am gonna give
She's
my
sucking
A
up.
grade. I'm gonna See,
I'm
you
sorry,
can't even,
like-
dude. This is my thing about the culture of the world now. You say anything of sincerity and you get trolled. If you say anything that is honest,
You can't even lie. Like that's just your
Fear. I said that you are careful with your words, and you just said, "Oh my God, look at Didi like blowing me up." Like, imagine saying one honest, kind thing in this world without getting trolled. I'm giving my A grade to myself. I feel like my analysis
wow.
of
So now
the
you're being
lonely
selfish.
epidemic
That's
among
not even
women.
allowed.
I
That's
did
not
it.
the
I
rules.
don't even care. I'm giving my A grade to myself. I understand what a real conversation looks like, what sincerity and authenticity looks like, and I'm so
This
tired.
is what living in California has done to you.
See, I literally cannot believe we can't even say one sincere thing. I give Veer one compliment, he's like, and it's not even Brij who's like, oh, whatever. It's you yourself. I gave you a compliment. I'm
Okay.
giving it to myself.
Veer, who do you give your A grade to?
I'm giving my F grade. My A grade. so many A's I have to give out an F. I'm giving my A grade to. I'll give my A grade to Baya because I agree with the stance that there needs to be some balance between casualty and the formality of a Thanksgiving event / dinner.
Okay. All right. This was a very, very heated episode unexpectedly. I'm accepting your dad's A grade, but with a lot of reluctance because I'm not sure he
You
meant
don't
it.
get to accept or decline it.
I'm gonna do an acceptance speech first because I don't think this has happened in 50 episodes that he
It's
gave me an A
actually
grade.
so dead. What?
And no, it is what it is.
An acceptance
And
speech?
I'm going to issue an A grade. I would have issued it to myself because, to be honest, the phone break seems to be the perfect.
That's got to be
solution.
the most damaging idea of all time.
Why is that so damaging? We will get into that in another episode. Our listeners and commenters are going to tell us in this comment section that you guys are all
Please.
wrong.
Oh my
But
god.
I do think that the A grade for me for this episode goes to Brij because I think the point that you're trying to make is valid. Does it have to be Martha Stewart or nothing? That is the big question. And I think
Can
the
somebody
answer
explain what
is
Martha Stewart did? Because I don't know, and I'm sure that
okay.
there's a few
Brij,
people in the audience.
there is a whole story about Martha Stewart. You can look her up
My
because we
hero.
cannot start a whole second episode
Actually,
at
my
the
hero.
back of this first episode. But thank you so much for listening in. As you can see, this ended up being an unexpectedly heated topic. We can't wait for you to chime in, to tell us what are your dinner parties like? What's your favorite thing? What's your favorite hostess gift? I would love to hear about that. And thank you so much for listening in. Everybody say bye.
Bye.
Bye.